Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brian Ainsley, and what you've just been listening to is the closest you'll get to a Scottish tune at the moment, which is Biffy Clyro. Unfortunately, I didn't have the Proclaimers 500 miles. It might have helped me get over last night and the fact that we've got no chance of going anywhere in the next number of years for football reasons. European Championships, World Cups doesn't work for Scotland at the moment. But maybe one day we'll get back to that. Anyway, you're here for an update in respect of revenue and customs. Thanks for coming in today. First and foremost, you can ask me questions through this if you want to. If you don't want to, don't panic. You don't need to. Certainly, I'll be around after this presentation, and I'll answer as many questions as you want to put to me as you want, so don't panic. Now, first and foremost, name's Brian Ainsley. We'll look at what we're going to cover in the next half hour or so, and we'll look at where that can take you and the information that you're going to get from that. So first and foremost, we'll look at some of the information that's coming out from Revenue and Customs and how to access that information and how to access it in bite-sized chunks and decide whether at that point in time you want the information. We'll look at what's the topic that certainly Sage done a presentation on this morning, and we'll do a further one on tomorrow morning, real-time information, RTI, we'll look at that. We'll look at information relating to the payroll updates, then the VAT updates, and then as a cover-all, we'll look at miscellaneous, a couple of things that are in there as well. Now, I don't know what you think about revenue and customs, but myself, and I've got two colleagues up the back who have to leave early today, but I'll stay on. We are the friendly, smiley, happy faces of revenue and customs, believe it or not. We are approachable, so don't panic. Unfortunately, I don't know what it is with this Spot Me, but it kind of spots everybody else but revenue and customs. We don't bite. But don't panic over that. Now, firstly, communications. What we're trying to do is to cut down on all of the information going out to yourselves by the way of paper. And the easiest way for us to do that is to communicate with you electronically. But for you to communicate electronically with us, we have to try and make you sign up or go into our website. That's the two options that you have. Hopefully you have noticed that we didn't send out an employer pack at the start of this year to get you all started and up and running. The reason for that is that they are now online. The latest employer bulletin was released on the 30th of September, so the information is available on our website. All you need to do is go into our website, click on employers, and on the left-hand side, on that second page, employer bulletin, click on that, and you'll be able to download it if you wish, or just view the information that's contained within that. We also introduced last year something called HMRC weekly updates. Quite a large number of people have signed up for the weekly updates. What it is something that we would issue in an email format to tell you there is new information that's came out. It will give you one line, two lines, and a link to the appropriate area where you'll get further information. Your choice. You can actually get access to those updates from the second email address that's on that slide that you have in front of you. Now, how do we sign up for the information itself? The easiest way to sign up for our email alerts is by going into our Business Link website. My apologies, didn't forward that on. Our Business Link website that is held on the screen. Once you go into that, you'll be asked for certain information. You'll need your employer's pay-as-you-earn reference number, your employer's name, your employer's address, telephone number, and contact name so that we can get back in touch with you. That's the easiest way to get the information to tell you that there is something happening within Revenue and Customs that might affect you within your payroll department or might affect you as an employer. So I would certainly recommend that you sign up for that. You've got nothing to lose, to be quite honest, because if it comes in and you don't need the information or don't require the information, you delete that email and go on to your next email that comes in. But please remember that signing up for our email alerts is not the same as signing up for our online services. You need to do things separately for both. So that's the first part of the agenda that we've covered. Second thing is RTI, real-time information. Now, as I said, Sage had a presentation this morning on real-time information. I don't intend to go over the facts and figures as Sage did this morning. They've taken all the facts and figures regarding costs, etc., straight from our website. So if you have viewed that this morning, then fair enough. The most important thing that I would say from HM Revenue and Customs perspective and the government's perspective is that this is a crucial part of the government priority programme. What we're looking at is to fundamentally change the pay-as-you-earn system. And how we intend to do that is that three main changes would be employers, pension providers will tell us when you make a payment on or before that payment is made each month. We will then allow you to send the information that month, but it will mean that you don't need then to do an end-of-year procedure. So that will save your payroll section an awful lot of time and effort at the end of the year. So the P35 and P14 procedure will disappear. And what we will do is that at the very end of the year, at the 12-month cycle, we will ask you merely to click a button, because that's what it will be, to say that this is your last payment in the year. And the information will come direct to us. At that stage, you will still print out a P60 for your employees. So that process will still be in place, but it won't change other than that. What we will be looking at is the P45, P46 procedure. We'll be looking certainly to overhaul that. We announced 2 years ago that P46s didn't necessarily have to be completed by employees. That as long as the information that the employee provided you with was sufficient in their job application, etc., to complete their P46, then you didn't need to get them to complete that P46, but send the information to us online. So the P45, P46 will be reviewed to look at what we should be doing to streamline that or possibly do away with some of the processes. That hasn't been formalised as yet, but it certainly will be a lot less onerous than it is currently. The result of those aspects will mean that there will be a reduction in the costs to you for payroll. That to me would be the most important thing. The payroll reduction and the admin costs would reduce as well. How you would send the information to us would be through what's called a full payment submission, an FPS. Now, that full payment submission will come to us either in two formats. Through a software program that you have that will come direct through to an avenue that we will create through the government gateway, alternatively through electronic data interchange, EDI. So it will tell us the tax, the national insurance, the student loans. It will tell us all of that information. And it will be no different from the process that you carry out just now regarding your payroll. It will follow that. So what hopefully will happen is that it will be like being on a motorway where you're taking a slip road. The slip road sends the information direct to Revenue and Customs, but the motorway continues on through the BACS process to pay the individual employee. Now, 90%, believe it or not, of individuals are paid through the BACS process. And for that, that's the ideal scenario, that we use the BACS process in years to come. That would be our intention. Now, at this moment in time, that is still to be progressed through the banking area and also through software developers to make sure that the BACS system is robust enough to cope with the volume of traffic that will travel through that on a monthly basis. So that would be the intention from Revenue and Customs perspective. The other thing that we would be looking at is that it will support the universal credits that are coming in October 2013. It will mean that Department of Work and Pensions will have access to the information that you provide to us, so that they can make decisions based on real-time information, matter-of-fact information that is factually correct, sent by yourselves and held by yourselves, so that the right amount of money is paid to the individual at the right time. Now, as you can see listed on the screen, there are a number of benefits for both yourselves and Revenue and Customs. We know that working patterns have changed. I looked at the Sage World presentation earlier on and seen that we're celebrating our 68th anniversary of Pay As You Earn coming in. Certainly myself and some of my colleagues feel as though we've been in for that whole time, although obviously that's not the case. Pay As You Earn has changed completely regarding the employees out there. Gone are the days where someone would stay with the same company all throughout their working life. Gone are the days where someone could survive on possibly one wage, that they might go out and have 2 or 3 part-time employments. The Pay As You Earn system cannot cope with that. So we have to find a way of actually updating the system to benefit both you as an employer and certainly Revenue and Customs. And RTI is one area that will actually enhance that process. It will build on the National Pay As You Earn service that's currently running the system just now. So that's the two that will run hand in hand. What we would then be looking at is that we would be looking to have less contact with yourselves in relation to the information coming in. If we're going to be contacting yourselves, it would be to update you regarding the correct code number to use for an employee, as we do just now. But hopefully in the fullness of time, there won't be 3, 4, 5 changes during a year. It will be recognised right away that there's been a problem with the pay or the tax or the national insurance. We correct it our side, advise you as the employer, and it's corrected there and then. Gone should be the days where we write out to yourself or write out to the employee, ask for the P60 to be sent in, and deal with either a repayment or an underpayment situation. That should hopefully be minimised as much as we possibly can. What we would also be looking at is, as it says in the third bullet point there, we're looking at our costs and we're looking at non-compliance. And that is a driver for our point of view, in that we can create a level playing field for all businesses to make sure that businesses pay at the right time and at the right amounts, rather than one business have an advantage over another. And I'll talk about that near the end of the presentation today. But what we're looking at is that the information feeding in to the Department of Work and Pensions, so that they can come to the right decisions as well for the employees that you have. So what's happening just now? Currently, a couple of things. The very first bullet point has changed since it got put up onto the presentation that we had to send to Sage. Pardon me while I take some whiskey. I'm glad there was a small titter there. It is in fact Diet Iron Brew. Obviously, I need the diet stuff rather than anything else. But the activity within Revenue and Customs, and certainly with software providers, is quite frenetic at the moment. The one thing that we would say is that we're trying, where possible, to give you as much information as possible. But unfortunately, we don't want to give you too much where it's information overload. There was a consultation document issued last year, July 2010. We got nearly 200 responses, both individuals, software, and companies, big, large, and small. And from that, we've released the report, the formal response to the consultation document. It is within our internet. It was released on the 30th of September. So if you get into the What's New section of the internet, click on the September update, and the very first thing on there will be the 30th of September, and it will be the consultation document. We are preparing and working with the payroll sections, including Sage, to make sure that the software is available for all companies to use, and it's formally tested by ourselves and all the software providers before we actually go live. We will keep you up to date with the progress of where we are and what's happening. We have recruited quite a number of employers so far, and also software developers, to work with through from now to next April, where the pilot goes live, and then after that. I'll speak about that in a moment. And the last thing is that obviously Revenue and Customs can't do anything regarding this unless the correct legislation is placed. So that is being drafted at this moment in time that will cover HM Revenue and Customs and the Department of Work and Pensions areas, so that everything is there in place for April 2012. So what's the next steps as far as we're concerned? April 2012, the pilot begins. So that's where we would be looking to actually deal with everything at that aspect. We would be looking that some of the large employers from October through to April of 2013, so that would be the October 2012 through to the April of 2013, migrate early. That is the hope, that we are in a position to actually do that. It will be by invitation. It will be big, large, mainly those initially, but we will approach small employers so that we can get them up and running at the same time. The controlled migration will start from April 2013, and that again will be at our request. We will request you to actually give us the relevant information, and I'll talk about that in the next screen. The ultimate is, of course, that everyone is migrated by October 2013. Hopefully, you will find that is a target that we, with your help, will be able to achieve. Because we can't do it without your help. It will be as simple as that. It's all to do with Revenue and Customs and yourself as employers, as agents, all working together hand in glove. Because without that, the whole thing will fall apart. What we'll be looking at is, we'll be looking at the information that employers are submitting to us currently. Certainly I've been involved in that for about the past 6 months. Some of the data that comes in to Revenue and Customs is information that sometimes we don't need. But it's information that sometimes is necessary for us to actually update all of our systems. And unfortunately, some of that information can be factually incorrect. And some of that's down to us, giving employers the wrong details at the wrong time and never correcting that. So first and foremost, I apologise if that's the case. But we will try and make sure that you are aware of all the information that you have to supply to us. Now, one of the process we'll look at is that we will advise employers. We'll look at that three-pronged approach. And the last one is vitally important. We will look at going out to employers to support them, to show them where they've went wrong. If it's our fault, we'll tell them how we're correcting it our side, and enable them to actually send the correct information to us. So it works both ways. Ultimately, what we'll be doing is the last part of the slide there, the employer alignment. The employer alignment is if you have 1, 2, 3, 4 different pay-as-you-earn reference numbers, they will all be aligned at different times. It will all be an invitation letter that goes out to you as the employer or the software provider. And what we will then turn around in that time is say, give us a list of all your employees. All of those employees will be looking at the information. We'll be making sure that the information is correct and clean. I've looked at a bit of information that came into me 2 weeks ago, and unfortunately the agency sent in 1,944 P14s, all with the same date of birth. And it was a default date of birth that we asked employers and agents not to use 2 years ago. But they weren't aware of that. And all we've done is that, have we been able to correct it? Yes, we have, by a simple phone call. So that's what we're looking for, is that we make sure that the right information is held by yourselves. And the information that we're looking for at that stage is that you make sure that you have in place details relating to an individual's name, that their national insurance number is correct, that their date of birth is correct, and believe it or not, the gender is correct. Because sometimes the gender area is not completed in our forms and that causes a rejection. That is one of the key areas that you have to send the information in respect of. Now, if you want further information regarding the real-time information and some of the things that we have been looking at, then you will get this from our website. There was, in the What's New area, on the 7th of October, further information relating to real-time information. And it does go into chapter and verse at the very end of the 3 pages or so. The 3 pages or so, the details in relation to the errors that we've been finding. So please have a look at that, see the information that's there, and see if it's helpful and useful to yourself. Section is not up there, but certainly that's where I would suggest that you actually have a look at. If you want to take down the details of that, feel free. I'll take another sip of the Diet Iron Brew. But if anyone hasn't had enough time to take that information down, I can provide them with that at the end of the presentation. So quickly skipping on to the payroll announcements now. These were made an awful long time ago now. They were made on the 23rd of March 2011. That's how long ago it was. And these were the announcements that the Chancellor decided he wanted put in place that will occur from the 6th of April next year. So the personal allowances go up to 8,105. The basic rate is reduced down to 34,370. Any software that you use will have that information contained within that, so you're okay. The government also announced the last bullet point there. It's their intention to make sure that they integrate the tax and national insurance contributions, and they're seeking details from yourselves. They're looking to consult with yourselves on the best way forward for that will have the least amount of impact to yourselves through payroll. Now that's your chance to actually take part in that. My hope is that all of that information will be done, hopefully at some time before 2015, but that's what they're looking at as the target date. And that will be after the RTI has actually bedded in. But we'll not know any clearer information until after the Chancellor steps up in front of Parliament and gives his autumn statement. Now that autumn statement is due on Tuesday the 29th of November. Now, anyone want advance information of what he's going to say? I wish. We don't get it. There's a button that gets pressed and the information comes through onto our computer screens after the Chancellor has sat down. We tend to be, it's the only time that you'll ever hear a radio in a Revenue and Customs office because we're actually listening to our boss to find out what he's actually saying, because we know that the phones will ring shortly thereafter. So it's a case of watch this space at this moment, but we will be listening to that. One of the things that was announced on the 23rd of, well, it was actually in April of 2010, was the introduction of the Regional Employer National Insurance Holiday. This is an option for new employers who commenced on or after the 22nd of June to have the ability to have national insurance-free employees. That is the employer's liability to national insurance. They had to be a new employer, they had to be in a certain area to actually achieve that. The scheme started on the 6th of September 2010. The legislation was put in place on the 22nd of March 2011. So if you are or know someone who is in that position, then advise them that they can actually apply. It will run for 1 year in respect of each employee, up to 10 employees, and will be for a maximum saving of £5,000 per employee. So if you've got any finance directors out there, they'll be rubbing their hands at that, because that's ultimately what you're looking at. It's to try and save you or your business any money that you can. But you have to be a new employee and you have to be on or after the 22nd of June. But if you need further information, then go to the Business Link website there, National Insurance Holidays. Alternatively, there's an article in it in the Employer Bulletin that will provide you with further information. But it is up to a maximum of 10 employees. So potentially it could be a saving in a year of up to 50,000. We have released quite a large number of employer and business toolkits. The reason why we've issued these toolkits, you'll see from the slide, the website address at the bottom, is to support agents, and it is pre-return. Now, the whole thing about this is to make sure that you're aware of some of the information that's available. There's actually 20 separate toolkits there. Everything from record keeping through to capital allowances, through to VAT. Within the VAT section, there is output tax, input tax, and partial exemption. If anyone's interested, then there are toolkits there that will help and assist you reduce the burden for your business. It will give you chapter and verse what you need to do, what the rules, regulations are, and take you through, in a lot of cases, what is merely you ticking a box to get to the next stage. It's there set out in a fashion that hopefully you can follow and makes it easy for yourself. If you want to give us any feedback at any stage, then feel free to do that. Certainly part of the drive towards the toolkits is to help and assist you as much as we possibly can. One of the areas that we're trying to cover as well is expenses and benefits. And within expenses and benefits, what we'd like you to do is apply for dispensations. And you can apply for dispensations online as well. And we will get back to you hopefully within 28 days. So you've got options there. Now, we've reduced the number of contacts that you can make to Revenue and Customs. There used to be 66 different phone numbers that you could pick up and phone our colleagues in any office throughout the UK. There are now 2 specific numbers that it's been reduced to. One for employers, one for employees. All we'd ask you to do is to update any correspondence that you have that you send out to your employees, or if you have a website and you have a connection with ourselves, update the information relating to that so that your employee or you can phone the correct number. The one thing regarding the number at the bottom for employees, employers can also phone that number to check a code number that's been issued. And that is the opening hours. They used to be open on a Sunday, but we've found that most folk don't phone us on a Sunday. Don't know why that is. Maybe they've got a life. Possibly. Now we're on to the scary side of value-added tax, VAT. These are the bits of information that the Chancellor released. The registration, the deregistration, etc. Further details of the rules for registering and deregistration are held on the notices that are on the screen. So that would be notice 700/1 and 700/11 for deregistration. All the notices are obviously free of charge. You can download them if you want, so that might be a cost if you actually print it off. But they are visible on the screen, normally in PDF document format, so that you can view it and go in and out of that as you wish. In addition to the guidance and notices available at the Business Link website, as it states on the 2 bullet points there is a toolkit available to you to decide whether or not to register in the first place or when to deregister, so that you've got additional assistance at that stage. We've also produced a brand new workshop to assist businesses further, because more and more trade is being done out with the UK. And what we need to do is to try and help and assist you as much as we possibly can in relation to different rules and regulations covering that type of trade. The workshop is designed for businesses who are already registered for VAT. That's the first that we'll be looking at, or are registering, who are trading with countries outside the UK. I can assure you that the workshops are free of charge. So don't panic. The most costly aspect of the workshop is your time. So if you come along to any of the workshops, and there are, I think it's now 17 separate workshops that we cover, they are all listed on the website /BST, or you can phone up and book onto any of the workshops that are within your area. If you give us your postal code, we'll give you 3 choices of the particular workshop and the venues in that particular area, so that hopefully you are able to come along. Lastly, but by no means least on VAT, since the 1st of April 2010, all newly VAT registered businesses and all businesses that had a turnover of in excess of 100,000 were required to submit their VAT returns online and make electronic payments. As part of the Budget 2011, the government announced its intention to make online filing for all remaining businesses a legal requirement. This slide certainly shows the intention currently, and it is intention. At present, there is a consultation document that you can still feed into. It's available for comment on our website, and the closing date for this consultation is the 31st of October 2011. So you've not got long to actually get involved in the consultation, but it might be worthwhile. Now, I should point out, although it's not mandation yet, it's not mandatory to send your VAT returns online, it will be an option that certainly the government will look at. However, what's pleasing to the eye as far as Revenue and Customs is concerned is that in excess of 75% of those businesses who are not required to actually submit their tax return online are currently doing so, which I think is a testament to actually the ease of the process, to be perfectly honest. Rather than fill in the paper version, you find that when you go online, it's actually the same. The only difference is that you don't need to do adding and subtracting, which was always a problem for me anyway. So it makes it far, far easier for yourselves. So it's not mandatory. It may be come next April. There is a consultation document out there. But at the end of the day, see what it's all about. Apply to do it online, and you'll find it's actually far, far easier. Now, going away from tax and national insurance, a lot of the calls coming into our contact centres are in respect of the state pension age and the potential changes to that. Currently, and this is just a reminder, the age at which the state pension age will affect most people will be different between 2010 and 2020. Traditionally, it was 60 for a woman, 65 for a man. For a woman, it's gradually increasing through from 2010 to 20. So any woman with a date of birth between the 6th of April 1950 and the 5th of April 1955 will be affected by this change. In other words, they have to achieve state pension age before you can use Table C, and they do not have to pay Class C national insurance, which would be nil, but you would still to pay that as an employer. So they have to have achieved state pension age to do that. There is a proposal currently going before Parliament that will affect those women born between the 6th of April 1953 and the 5th of April 1960. The proposal is that the state pension age is actually increased to 66 by 2020. So please be aware of that. If you're male and born between the 6th of December 53 and the 5th of April 1960, you will be similarly affected. Now, the scary thing is that there's a web page that you can actually go in, put in a person's date of birth, and get the worst possible information that you're ever looking for. Not only does it tell you the days, the years, it tells you everything. I'm surprised it doesn't tell you the minutes and seconds to actually achieve that pension age. But that's what you'd be looking at. So all of the information would be available to you at that stage. Now, where do you find that information? Quite easily. The information is available. The very first link would take you to the CWG2, if you're aware of that booklet. That's an Employer's Further Guide to Tax and National Insurance, running your payroll, and you would select help books and guides on our website. The second link will take you to the guidance that you're required for proof of age from the individual. You can't suddenly go up to someone and say, well, you look 62. If they're not and they're only 54, it might actually offend them. So please be aware of that. I've had many a sore face in my day, I can assure you. So things like that. The third link in the slide will actually take you to that previous page we looked at with the pension age calculator, so that you can have a look for yourself and possibly assist the individual. You cannot take the word of the individual. Normally your ID checks when the person started would maybe help you. You might have details with their birth certificate, etc., or copy of a passport. That would be sufficient for you to actually confirm with the pension age calculator the information that's there. So going on to another area, as from this month, as from the 10th of October, in actual fact, if you look on our website, we have stopped issuing plastic national insurance cards. We reckon it will save in excess of £1 million per year. So if you've got any sons or daughters out there that were expecting a national insurance card next year, keep them calm. They might be really disappointed that they're going to get a letter out. They've not got a national insurance card. Anyone who was applying for a national insurance card to be reissued to them because they'd lost it, they'll get the notification in letter format, so everyone will be treated exactly the same. If you need further information relating to that, go to the Employer Bulletin in February 2011 where it announced this information. Alternatively, go to the Business Link website, click on Employment and Skills, and under Taking on Staff, look at Recruiting People and choose Employment Checks, and you'll look at some of the information contained on that regarding identity and national insurance numbers. A major impact or not at all, depending on the circumstances of your employment scheme. From the 6th of April 2012, all additional state pension on a defined contribution basis will no longer be possible. The contracted scheme memberships close on the 5th of April 2012. If you try to submit anything with a letter, F, G, H, K, V and S, we will reject that and return the information direct to yourselves. They are no longer valid. Any other schemes other than those letters will still be maintained and valid. Now, before I go on to the next screen, which is all about online security, for further information on the What's New pages, there's an announcement that was made on the 5th of October and advises the powers to prevent deliberate non-payment of pay-as-you-earn. And I've spoken to a number of employers since it came out last week, and it seems to have went over their head. But equally, with a compliance hat on, I've had quite a number of complaints from employers who feel that they've not been treated properly, where an employer down the road, around the corner, seems to be getting away with certain things. From the 6th of April 2012, Revenue and Customs will be able to ask employers to pay a security where there is serious risk that they won't pay over their pay-as-you-earn tax, deductions or Class 1 national insurance contributions. So that's what we will be putting in place from the 6th of April 2012. That, I can assure you, will not affect the vast majority of employers out there who do comply. But it's to make sure that you as employers know that you're on an equal footing with other employers. However, what I would add is that if you as an employer are in particular difficulties regarding payments to us, please talk to us. Pick up the phone, ask to speak to the Business Payment Support Service. Speak to us regarding any particular problems that you've encountered regarding payments, but they must cover all payments that are becoming due. If you enter into a time to pay arrangement with us and it just covers certain payments and you've forgotten about 2 or 3 other payments, then I'm sorry. We won't include them at a future date. It has to include all your payments that are in relation to that. So if you get into the What's New section, 5th of October 2011, you'll see all of the information relating to that. And finally, one that appeals to me, because it's amazing how individuals think that when they get something out from Revenue and Customs and it's by email and it's got an attachment to it that asks you for your bank details that you have to fill it in. Please don't. I mean, I'm one of these lucky guys that get a letter from Barack Obama. I'd never set foot in the US of A, and I was getting $966 back. I thought, fantastic. What do I need to do? give me your details. What details? Your bank details and your mother's maiden name. Why does Barack Obama want that? Don't know. And it's the same thing. We found that about 3 months ago, there seems to be another absolute flood of these scam emails coming out to you. But they're looking more and more professional. And please, please, please be aware, we will never email you to tell you that there will be a repayment due. We will send you out a letter. The emails come out and say, hey, Revenue and Customs, you're going to get £200 and odd, and you think, can it be a scam? Because if it was a scam, it would be a couple of million. But it's not. And it's hit at that level so that people are lulled into a false sense of security. So if you get any and you're ever in any doubt, the first website address will give you the information and show you some of the scam details. The second one, send them on to us. We will then close down that internet provider that is sending them on to us. So let us be aware of them. Send them on to us if you're in any doubt. That's me finished for this afternoon. You'll be glad to hear. Thanks very much for being patient and listening to me. If there are any questions, feel free. I'll even turn off the mic. Got a question here. GB asks, what if an innocent error is discovered after submission? It'll be treated the same as any other error. It'll be treated on its merits. If it is an error, then we'll try and make sure that we can correct that through talking to yourselves and working through things. That's one of the things that we're going to be looking at with our software providers, with the small employers between now and next April, so that hopefully there won't be any errors. Because ideally what we're looking at is that the information going direct to the bank to pay the individual. But by the way, you can still pay them cash. So you would send the information separately to us if you're paying your employee by cash. You can still do that. But if there is an error, we will do our utmost to try and help and assist you correct that error to make sure that it doesn't reoccur. Any other questions? I'm here and available for questions. I'll even turn off the mic so that nobody else can hear if it's going to be private. But thanks very much for today and enjoy the wet weather out there. Thank you.